Page 7. Rambam's rulings. In describing the procedure for accepting converts, Rambam basically follows the protocol recorded in Yebamot 47a and b. However, he adds the requirement of informing the candidate of the basic principles of our faith, the unity of God, the prohibition of idolatry. This is Hilchot Asuri Bia 14.2. Rambam, like the Talmud, indicates that we inform the candidate of some of the mitzvot and some of the rewards and punishments, but we do not overly prolong this nor give them too many details, lest we cause him anxiety and thereby turn him from the good path to the bad path. Now, the good path being the path that he's on, coming to convert, and the bad path being whatever path he was on before he came to convert. And the only other reason it specifies waiting any length of time is if a person has not been circumcised and they need to be circumcised, then it may have to heal before he goes into the mikveh. And this is because we don't want to put a bandage there and then the bandage become a barrier between him and the water. So the water from the mikveh has to cover every inch of your body. So if he was already circumcised, we still have to do the hatafat ambrit, but that doesn't require a bandage, so he can go into the water immediately. So if he had to heal, that might take 30 days, but that was the only reason for it to take more than a day, was not to make sure there's a minimum amount of time or that we convey a certain amount of information. It was only to make sure that there was healing so they didn't have a bandage in the mikveh. So we are supposed to draw him to conversion with goodwill and soft words. Not only does it specifically say this, but it's not just one sentence. You'll see throughout the entire theme, everything we say to them is to increase their reward, tell them that only Israel has a place in the world to come to make it to where they would want to convert. There is no example there of, oh, well, why don't you just live by these 7 laws? Or, we don't encourage conversions. None of that is present in the laws. Okay, so Rambam does not require or expect that the would-be converts be given thorough instruction in Torah and mitzvot. This is reflected in Rambam's discussion of the Hakel commandment. When the people of Israel gathered in Jerusalem once in 7 years to hear the king read from the Torah, men, women, and children were to attend this event, even those who could not understand the Torah reading. Rambam seems to take it for granted that converts were among those who would not understand the Torah reading. As for converts who do not know the Torah, they must make ready their heart and give ear attentively to listen in awe and reverence and trembling joy, as on the day when the Torah was given on Mount Sinai. Rambam noted that potential converts should be examined to see if they have ulterior motives. In the days of King David and King Solomon, the Bet Din did not accept proselytes, since it was assumed that non-Jews came for personal gain rather than religious reasons. Nonetheless, Rambam writes, numerous converts were made in the days of King David and Solomon through Hedyatot, laymen, ordinary people, an ad hoc Bet Din of non-experts that were not the official Bet Din of the land. I had a rabbi once tell me he was incorrect. He said that Hedyatot means a court. Not only is it translated ordinary people, but the commentary there specifically says that it has to mean ordinary people, because if we had that court as a requirement to accept converts, we wouldn't be allowed to accept converts today, because the Sanhedrin was abolished. So in order to accept converts, it has to be ordinary people. So such converts were neither pushed away nor brought close until it was seen how they turned out, meaning, were they really serious in their desire to be Jewish? And again, the commentary says that they were not rejected. That means they were accepted. So what does it mean that we did not draw them close? The commentary tells us this means we didn't marry them until we saw they were serious and observant. And this is clear in other places too. A chaver, a religious associate, would not marry an am ha'eretz, somebody who was Jewish but was not following the laws. So we did not reject these people that were converted, but we wouldn't marry them until we saw they were going to be a chaver. That's it. So having said this, though, Rambam instructs us not to believe that Samson or Solomon married non-Jewish women. Rather, their non-Jewish wives were actually converted by the court of these Hedyatot, so that they were in fact Jewish. Yet we know that these wives did not convert from religious motivations. We also know that they continued to worship idols after their conversions. Wouldn't this be a clear indication that their conversions were not valid? Isn't it obvious that they turned out to be idolaters rather than Jews? But the Rambam in Hilchot Asuri 13, chapter 13, Halacha 17, rules that a convert who was not examined as to his motives, or who was not informed of the mitzvot and their punishments, and he was circumcised and immersed in the presence of 3 laymen, is a convert. Even if it is known that he converted for some ulterior motive, once he has been circumcised and immersed, he has left the status of being a non-Jew, and we suspect him until his righteousness is clarified. Even if he recanted and worshipped idols, he is considered a Jewish apostate. If he betroths a Jewish woman according to the Halacha, they are betrothed, and an article he lost must be returned to him as any other Jew. Having immersed, he is a Jew. Now, when it says here, we suspect him until his righteousness is clarified, this is clear in other places. If an am ha'eretz, someone who doesn't know anything about the law, wants to become a chaver, he wants to become a religious associate, we suspect him that he's not going to wash his hands before eating bread because we haven't taught him that. Once, he agrees to follow the laws, you teach him this is what we're supposed to do, and this is the beracha that we say. You suspect him. Is he going to do it until you see him do it? Once you see him doing that, we see, okay, he is accepted, he's washing his hands, he's saying the blessing. We no longer suspect him anymore. Then you teach him the next thing. And, the rules of modesty, how you're going to dress. And then you see him do that. Then you teach him the next thing. This is the same procedure for an am ha'eretz who was born Jewish, who wants to become a chaver, or somebody who wants to convert. It's the exact same process. And we'll see this in the laws. So according to Rambam, a person who undergoes the technical procedures of conversion, which is circumcision and immersion for a man, and just immersion for a woman, in the presence of a bet din, even one made up of laymen, is a valid convert. Even if the motives for conversion were dubious, and even if the convert reverted to idolatry, the conversion remains valid. And it specifically will give you examples in Asuri Bia of, even though we found out he converted for ulterior motives because he went into the mikvah, he is a valid Jew. There is no way to become a non-Jew. You could become an apostate Jew, which is not a non-Jew, but you are still allowed to marry into the Jewish people because you are a valid Jew. We may not want this person to marry into our family, but that would be because he's not observant or because he has character traits that we don't agree with, that we don't want him to be, the husband to my daughter. But we do not say that he is not eligible because he converted. He is eligible as a Jew. It would not be an intermarriage. We may suspect his or her sincerity and uprightness of character, but he or she is Jewish all the same. This explains why the wives of Samson and Solomon, idolatrous though they were nevertheless Jews and were married to their husbands as Jews. And this is Rambam's Asuri Bia, chapter 12, Halacha 17, if I remember correctly. There is no difference between a Jew who converted and a Jew who was born Jewish, meaning halakhically they have a Jewish mother. And then when you read the commentary on that, it says, with all matters. So if someone is halakhically Jewish because their mother's Jewish and they're an idolatrous person, it's no different than a person who converted, is now halakhically Jewish, and then becomes an idolatrous person. That's not the ideal. It's not what we're hoping for people. We want both of them to become observant, but they are both just the same halakhically Jewish. Okay, and we will pick up on the next video with page 8.